Friends and colleagues of the fire captain who died helping someone who crashed on the Beltline reflect on his memory. Plus, President Trump invites the leaders of Congress into the Situation Room today as the federal government shutdown enters its 12th day. And someone in New York is starting the new year on a high note by winning a $400 million lottery jackpot.
This is News 3 at noon.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mark Kane. Thanks for tuning in to News 3. Hope you all had a very happy new year. On this January 2nd, Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti joins us. A little light snow out there.
Yeah, just a little bit, enough to make the roads slick. But I think a lot of the snow may melt over the next 4 or 5 days. Let's start out by taking a look at Doppler track, and you can see there's light snow across much of southern Wisconsin, but it is starting to move out. In fact, you can see the back edge of the snow now just about to the western edge of Dane County. Visibility right now still 2.5 miles in Madison, but notice once you cross north and west of the Wisconsin River, for the most part, those visibilities are around 10 miles, so very little snow falling there. Low temperatures this morning, pretty chilly up in central Wisconsin, down to 4 degrees in Black River Falls. Here in Madison, we bottomed out at 19. We're at 24 now. Temperatures have been fluctuating up and down a little bit, but with southwesterly winds, might go up a couple more degrees. Wind chills right now are in the middle teens. Look for those temperatures to climb up to a high temperature. Well, it says 30 there. It actually should be about 27. And then look for skies to clear out later on tonight with low temperatures in the middle teens. But tomorrow we will be in the 30s. It'll probably be around 40 by Friday and in the 40s for the weekend.
So if you like the snow, get out there now.
Do it now, right?
Thank you, Gary. Let's check back in a few minutes. Topping the news today, we are learning more about the Lake Mills fire captain who was killed by a suspected drunk driver while helping a woman who crashed on the Beltline on New Year's Eve. Captain Chris Truman was a 13-year veteran of the Lake Mills Fire Department. He stopped to help a woman who had lost control of her car on the Beltline during Monday night's snow before being hit by another car. He's being credited with saving that woman's life after telling her to get back to safety in her car before the second crash. At a news conference earlier this morning, colleagues and friends said Truman was always one to help those in need.
He was coming to my house that night when we got the call. So it's been difficult. The fact that he died helping someone actually means a lot to me because it exemplifies who he was and what he was about.
Truman leaves behind 3 young adult children and a longtime girlfriend. We'll hear more from them and Truman's colleagues tonight on News 3. Meanwhile, that suspected drunk driver, 28-year-old Samuel Kremers of Columbus, was arrested by Monona police on suspicion of homicide by intoxicated use of a vehicle. He's in the Dane County Jail, still waiting for his first court appearance. And an 81-year-old woman is recovering this morning after her car was hit by a suspected drunk driver. It happened near Easttown Mall on East Washington Avenue at about 11 o'clock last night. Madison police say 47-year-old Chad Martin was driving the wrong way down East Wash with his lights off and crashed head-on into a car driven by an elderly couple before running from the scene. He was later arrested at his mother's house. The elderly woman suffered multiple broken bones and other serious injuries. East Washington Avenue was closed for about an hour and a half overnight due to the crash, but is back open this noon. The man accused of killing a Sun Prairie man and hiding his body pleads guilty to hiding a corpse today. 60-year-old Daniel Leeske was charged with first-degree intentional homicide and hiding a corpse in the death of 21-year-old Jesse Faber. His trial on the homicide charge is scheduled to start on Monday. Prosecutors say Leeske shot Faber 5 times and hid his body in Rio, about 30 miles from where he was last seen in Marshall. A little less than 2 weeks ago, Leeske's fiancée, 52-year-old Michelle Goss, pleaded guilty to helping Leeske move the body. Her sentencing is scheduled for April. President Trump is inviting congressional leaders to the Situation Room at the White House today for a briefing on border security. It comes as we're now in day 12 of the government shutdown, and the solution doesn't appear to be anywhere in sight. Nicole Killian has the details from Washington.
President Trump is focusing on border security today. The president is hosting congressional leaders at the White House this afternoon for a briefing with the Border Patrol. This will be the first face-to-face talks between the president and Democratic leaders since December 11th, when he said he would take responsibility for a government shutdown.
I will be the one to shut it down. I'm not going to blame you for it.
That partial shutdown is now in its 12th day, and as of today, the Smithsonian Museums and National Zoo are now closed after running out of money. Democrats gain more leverage for the negotiations tomorrow when they take control of the House of Representatives. They say they're ready on day one to pass a bill to reopen the government. House Democrats are proposing a plan that fully funds all of the government agencies now closed except for the Department of Homeland Security. DHS would get funded with a short-term bill that includes $1.3 billion for border security, but not the wall.
The president should sign it unless he simply wants to deliberately create an artificial shutdown of a good part of the government in which this wall controversy has nothing to do with.
White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders called the Democrats' plan a non-starter. Nicole Killian, CBS News, the White House.
And Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says he will not let the Senate vote on any bill unless President Trump approves of the legislation. Russia is giving the U.S. State Department access to an American who's been arrested in Moscow and accused of being an American spy. The family of former Marine Paul Whelan denies the charge, saying he was in Moscow for a wedding. Whelan is facing up to 20 years in prison after Russian intelligence said he was caught during an espionage operation. His arrest last week comes a couple of weeks after Russian national Maria Butina pleaded guilty for conspiring against the U.S. Well, someone in New York is starting the new year more than $400 million richer after winning the Mega Millions jackpot last night. The New Year's Day jackpot was the 8th largest in history after there were no big winners last month. The winning ticket was sold in New York. It's, as we said, $425 million. 3 other Match 5 winning tickets were also sold in New York. Well, this year is the 5th time the Mega Millions has been drawn on the first day of the new year. This year is only the 2nd time the jackpot has ever been won on New Year's Day. There's more to come on News 3 at noon. Up next, we'll see what Howard's working on in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Trying to cut back on pasta for your New Year's resolution? It's easy with this tasty alternative. It's day 2 of our week-long Salute to New Year's resolutions, and we're looking at ways to start the year off right. So if your resolution is to lose weight, eat better, or cut down on carbs, listen up. I'm a big pasta lover and not ready to totally give it up. So I found an option that's a good alternative. It's spaghetti squash. And if you're not familiar with it, this is the perfect time of year to get to know it. It's a winter squash that doesn't look like anything special on the outside, but when we cook it, it's a whole different story. Let me show you what I mean, and it couldn't be easier. We place a whole spaghetti squash in a soup pot with an inch or so of water, cover it, and let it steam for 25 minutes or so until it's tender. Once it cools slightly, we cut it in half, remove the seeds, and here's the magical part. We sort of shred it with a fork, and we get what looks like spaghetti. Now it's ready to be topped with any of our favorite pasta sauces. Here, I cooked up a light as can be Alfredo sauce to serve with it. And believe me, the flavor and texture is so good that it's a welcome change of pace. And just like spaghetti, it can be twirled on your fork. I hope you go online and get our recipe for spaghetti squash Alfredo. It's an easy way to start the new year off right without making you feel like you're missing out on anything. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where every day we're looking for a lighter way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
All right, Howard, thank you. Gary says we're in store for a seasonably cold afternoon with a chance for some snow flurries before it starts to warm up in the next couple of days. He's in with our first alert forecast next. Our Call for Action phone bank is open right now, ready to take on your consumer issues. You can call our hotline. Volunteers will help you with any consumer complaints. The number 608-270-2833. The service is open every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday between 11 and 1. Investors are hoping for a better start on the stock market than the way we ended in 2018. Giovanni Deerpick has the latest from New York in today's Money Watch report.
Stocks tumbled on the first trading day of the new year, dragged lower on economic data coming from China and evidence pointing to a global economic slowdown. Both Asia and Europe posted either lower or slower manufacturing growth for the month of December. The disappointing numbers are being blamed on the U.S.-China trade dispute and reduced demand. Some small businesses are feeling the effects of the partial government shutdown. Lodges, restaurants, souvenir shops, and street vendors that cater to national parks are losing money now that the shutdown is in its 12th day. Visitors typically spend about $18 million per day in December in those communities, according to the National Parks Conservation Association. And if you're thinking of making a career switch in the new year, it turns out you're not alone. New research shows a lot of people don't love their jobs. The Motley Fool website points to a survey from Great Place to Work. It shows 60% of employees say they're unhappy with their jobs. That means only 40% are satisfied at work. And that's your CBS Money Watch report. For more, head to cbsmoneywatch.com. At the CBS Broadcast Center, I'm Giovanna Dierpick.
Giovanni, thank you. The Dow Industrial's up 61 points. At the noon hour, it was down in triple digits when it opened. The NASDAQ up nearly 42. Look who's back. Q106 Crime Director Pam Yankee. Hello, stranger.
Hello there, buddy. Happy New Year
You
to
too?
you. I'm glad I'm part of the 40% that's happy to have a place to come back to.
Me too.
Nice way to work it through. So yeah, and actually my commodities are up on the midday mark, so that's another nice way to kind of kick off our first trade session of 2019. Wonder how long it's going to take me before I get used to that. Anyhow, what they're talking about today in the marketplace, they started trading at 8:30 Central Time this morning, so a little bit of a delay compared to what we're used to with electronic trade. They're looking back at 2018. Now, listen, if you're a farmer that grew anything out there, you can probably remember the last quarter pretty vividly of 2018. But they took a look at all of the charts through 2018. What I thought was interesting is, even with all of the tariff-imposed news last quarter of 2018, for the year, our corn contracts ended up about 6.9% higher than 2017. Soybeans, because of China's overwhelming influence, down 7.28% compared to 2017 if you took a look at the whole year and all the contracts that were traded. So like I said, that's where they kind of focus some of their attention. Remember, the United States is sending a trade delegation to China next week. It's going to be the first face-to-face discussion since the G20 summit. That's part of the momentum that's keeping our commodities a little stronger on the midday. They're optimistic that agriculture will get a lot of attention during that discussion. Which commodities, we're not sure, but they do have U.S. rice that's already scheduled to go back into China as quickly as they get the orders moved around, although that rice will contain a tariff. So kind of an interesting deal there. Barrel cheese today in Chicago dropped 1/4 cent for our first trade day of 2019. 40-pound block cheese was down 1 1/4, 141 3/4. Double A butter today finished unchanged. That was the same situation that happened to us on Monday, unchanged for our commodities. So they're in a little bit of a quiet trade mode, but corn and soybeans, Mark, right now to start our new calendar year are off in pretty good shape.
Oh, good. Hopefully 2019 will be better than 2018.
Oh, please. That would be wonderful. That would make me happy. A very big part of the 40% on why I like this job.
Absolutely. And you'll get used to 2019, I'd say, by mid-February.
Okay, good. Thank you. I'm glad you're optimistic about that.
It takes me that long as well. All right. Welcome back. Thank you, Pam. And Gary's here now with the weather. Very wintry out there today.
Yeah, got some light snow and flurries moving on through, but for the most part, the precipitation has been light, and it is starting to end from west to east across southern Wisconsin. There might be a few flurries that linger through the afternoon, but for the most part, the steadier snow is now shifting eastward across Lake Michigan and far eastern portions of Wisconsin. As far as visibilities are concerned, still a 2.5 mile visibility in Madison with light snow, but notice La Crosse, Marshfield, all the major reporting stations out to the west reporting visibilities around 10 miles or greater, so that means that if there are any snowflakes reaching the ground, there's just a few of them. But snow cover is now pretty widespread across much of southern Wisconsin. That snow, we had a little bit on Christmas, and we had some on New Year's. generally a couple of inches through much of the northern 2/3 of the state, about an inch or so in far southern Wisconsin. Then, of course, the heavier amounts from that storm just before Christmas up across portions of far northern Minnesota and into northwestern Wisconsin. And over that thick snow cover, look at what it did to the temperatures last night. 16 below zero in Superior, 15 in Brainerd. They had wind chills down to about 30 to 35 below zero early this morning, but things are starting to improve there, and they should actually warm up pretty quickly. Live view from the Platteville Community Radio Skycam, the WISC Skycam, and the Edgewater Skycam, all showing mostly cloudy skies and a little bit of snow showing up on the Edgewater Skycam, looking out over the southern end of Lake Mendota. Current conditions, some light snow being reported at the airport. Temperature is at 24. Winds out of the west-southwest at 8 miles per hour drop our wind chill in Madison to 15 degrees. Current temperatures range from the teens up in northern Minnesota and northern Wisconsin to the low to mid-20s across the rest of the state. But wind chills are starting to improve. They're in the teens here, still below zero across northeastern Minnesota. But the upper level winds now starting to flatten out and become a little more westerly in direction. So that's going to start bringing some milder Pacific air eastward as a storm system passes to our south over the next couple of days. So there's actually a warm front out to the west of us, and mild and breezy conditions are starting to set up in the plains. Not terribly mild right now, but again, these temperatures are late morning out there in the lower to middle 30s, and they'll be up in the 40s and 50s today. On future track, look for our clouds to gradually clear out later on tonight. That brings sunshine. That will also help warm us up. Look for high temperatures tomorrow to be in the mid-30s and be around 40 by Friday. Forecast for this afternoon, mostly cloudy and cold with light snow and flurries ending. High temperature at 27. For tonight, down to 16 degrees as cloudy skies this evening turn partly cloudy overnight. And then for tomorrow, mostly sunny skies. It'll be breezy and not as cold. High temperature at 34. On future track, you can see the clouds lingering through early evening and then starting to clear out overnight. By tomorrow morning, we're down to the mid-teens, but look for high temperatures tomorrow in the mid-30s. Notice those winds out of the southwest. And as we look at the 7 to 10-day forecast, those temperatures go up to around 40 for much of the weekend. In fact, 42 on Saturday. Some rain showers a possibility on Monday of next week. And then temperatures stay pretty mild, at least until perhaps the end of the week. Friday, we could see that rain change to snow. And then when that happens, we could see some colder weather for the following weekend, but still, that's quite a few days with above normal temperatures.
Not bad for this time of year.
Right.
It could be a lot worse. Thank you, Gary.
Sure.
There's more to come on News 3 at noon. Up next with more cars on the road, some people are thinking smaller as a way to ease traffic. We get behind the wheel of one of these models being tested when we come back. Well, with traffic getting worse in cities like New York and Los Angeles, there's a push for smaller cars. That includes some designed for just one person. Ileana Diaz took one out for a spin and has more from L.A.
Meet the Solo, a tiny three-wheeled electric vehicle the Canadian manufacturer Electrica Mechanica sees as the future of commuting.
People will start to see the advantage of it, and then everybody's going to want it.
Let's take it out for a test drive. It drives pretty smoothly.
As a one-seater, the Solo is sparking a debate about whether it's a motorcycle or a car.
Please don't call them cars. They are essentially motorcycles with enclosures around them.
The Solo is classified as a motorcycle, but no helmet is required. And in Los Angeles, it's allowed in the HOV lane. Mark Ruckton is executive editor of Motor Trend.
If you're in a compact urban space where speeds never really get that high, shouldn't be a problem. But once you start talking about interacting on the freeways with 2-ton SUVs being driven by people who are texting, that's a concern.
Electrica Mechanica insists the Solo is safe.
We have front crash testing, and we've incorporated what we learned from that into the construction of the vehicle. You have side reinforced doors. You have a roll bar that's built into the cabin.
The price tag on the Solo is a little over $15,000. It runs for about 100 miles on a single charge.
This is not the first time this experiment's been tried. If you look at vehicles like the Corbin Sparrow, they made an effort for 20 years. It's hard to convince people to do something outside of their comfort zone.
Electrica Mechanica is making its debut in traffic jam-prone LA. About 5,000 Solos are set to hit the streets in the next year. Ileana Diaz, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Well, at least you wouldn't have to carpool. You'd be right there.
I think it'd be handy, for those short trips.
Yeah, just commuting. I wouldn't go on the
I was
belt
going
line.
to say the belt.
Yeah,
belt line rush hour. No,
You'd be
not for me.
a little intimidated, I think, especially in the snowy weather.
Yep, still have some light snow out there, but it is starting to wind down from west to east. Looks like the back edge just about to Madison now. There might be a few flurries west of there, but for the most part, visibility is right now 2.5 miles in Madison, but 8 miles in Lone Rock and 10 miles farther out to the west. So it means there's probably not much, if any, snow falling from the clouds. Temperatures right now, low to mid 20s. We'll probably make the upper 20s this afternoon. Wind chills right now make it feel like temperatures are in the teens, but high of 27 this afternoon, 34 for tomorrow, and then near 40 on Friday. Low 40s for the weekend with dry weather through that period. Some rain on Monday, maybe mixed with a little snow at night and in the morning, and then some rain and snow on Friday of next week as we turn colder.
Enjoy the snow for now. That's our time. We'll see you back here at 4. Have a great afternoon.
Making plans that are weather dependent? Get an accurate 12-hour, even a 10-day forecast. Download the Channel 3000 First Alert Weather app and start planning.